Hey guys, Jay Brainard here. Just got done with the elite event at La Crosse, Wisconsin. It was an awesome tournament as far as the amount of fish caught. The upper Mississippi just has a ton of fish on them and a lot of water for us all to spread out. All kinds of different patterns that were working. But in practice, is one of my favorite things to throw in practice, a great search bait. It's the Strike King Little Mr. Money spinnerbait. And for a trailer on the back of there, I use a 4-inch swim shiner, KVD swim shiner. I trim it up so it's nice and compact. I was able to find the areas that I fished during the tournament with that spinnerbait. And then also during practice, I was throwing a Strike King skip and jig to skip back over overhanging trees and around some docks and things like that. I used the structure bug. It's just one of my favorite trailers on there. It makes for a nice flat bottom and it just skips incredibly well. The first day of the tournament, I caught one on the spinnerbait, and then I ended up going to the bank, to the overhanging trees, again using the structure bug here. This one's on a Hayabusa shooting ball jig head. It skips great as well, and they just didn't seem to want a skirt on there during the tournament. I think all the fishing pressure, casting, skipping to these obvious targets, a lot of guys were hitting them and they just didn't really want a skirt, but that shooting ball really came through. I caught a ton of fish on those in the morning of the first day. Now later on, as the day progressed, those fish ended up going to standing trees and more heavy cover, wood that was more mixed in with grass, and I switched to flipping, and I was actually getting right on top of those fish and flipping. I wasn't doing as much pitching. Usually about 90% of the time I'm pitching, but I was actually flipping, and just really, it was like hand-to-hand combat with them. I mean, I think some of the fish were in the air more than they were in the water. So again, structure bug. I got the Hayabusa FPP straight hook. I love the keeper on this. It's actually a mono keeper, so I was able to get 2-3 fish out of each bait, or even 4 or 5 fish sometimes, because whenever they bit and that slid down the shank or up, either way up the line, it wouldn't rip my baits up. So tour grade Strike King tour grade tungsten, 3/8 ounce weight, pegged. That was my setup there. And on day 2, my flip and bite we had some real bad weather on day 2. Some guys got stuck under bridges and everything. Luckily I was able to keep fishing, but I had to kind of give up on my flip and bite and go smallmouth fishing. Up the Black River there was a spillway that I noticed in practice. I didn't even fish it much in practice. I just thought, man, if I need to go catch some smallmouth during the tournament, I'm definitely coming here. And it paid off. I didn't get the kicker fish that I needed on day 2 to continue, but I still caught a ton of fish. Again, structure bug, 3/8 ounce tour grade tungsten weight by Strike King. I didn't peg it. I was in quite a bit of current, and I like it sliding free whenever I'm dragging them. When I'm flipping, I like to peg it, but when I'm dragging or hopping a weight in more open water situation, I don't peg it much. I just feel like I get more bites with that kind of free floating until I pull it down to the weight. The hook I was using is a WRM 957 by Hayabusa, and some of the time I was actually throwing over the spillway, and I would get bites on the other side of the spillway, set the hook, bring them over the spillway, down into the water that was about 7 feet below the spillway, and into the boat. And I think this hook was a big player in that. It has Hayabusa's non-reflective black coating on it, which makes it, you just feel it just runs through your fingers like silk. There's like no friction at all, and it's such a sharp point. Then the diameter is smaller, so I get a lot better penetration, but the sides of the hook are flat, so that it's extremely strong, even though it's a fairly light wire hook. Also, I like the shape of it back here at the back, well, at the front and the back. It's got kind of a Z bend up here to keep those baits really pegged, and so they're not balling up and sliding down on me or anything like that. And then the shape in the back, once it penetrates a fish's mouth, they are really stuck in there. It just forces them back into that little bend. So that was pretty interesting, pulling fish over that spillway like that. It was pretty fun fishing. kind of a rundown on the rods and reels I was using for the spinnerbait. 7-foot medium heavy for this little Mr. Money. Just the right action, really has a lot of backbone too whenever you get one hooked. That's the number 8 tackle Blackout. Concept A 6 to 1 by 13 fishing. I was using 17-pound Seaguar Red Label on both that setup and this one here. The Hayabusa Shooting Ball and the Strike King Structure Bug, I was throwing it on a 7.3 medium heavy Blackout. It's really became a workhorse for me. I love this rod. I use it for bigger spinner baits, smaller swim baits, finesse jigs, you know, little finesse presentations like the Shooting Ball. I had, again, 17-pound Seaguar Red Label on it, and Concept A 8 1-to-1 reel by 13. In practice, the Strike King Tour Grade Skip and Jig was on the same setup as this flipping rod. This is my 7.4 heavy, number 8 Blackout. Tons of power. It's a little bit shorter rod than a lot of guys flip with, but I'm a little bit shorter guy than most guys, so it works great for me. And again, 8 1-to-1 gear ratio, 20-pound test Seaguar Red Label. You notice I use my flipping rods and anything I'm dragging or where they can set the hook on the fall. I actually use a left-handed Concept A also. When I went smallmouth fishing, this is a 7.6 medium heavy. I wanted to be able to launch it as far as I could over that spillway, and you know, that really saved me some time from having to run around and run through the lock and come back, and then I was able to fish both sides of the spillway and caught fish on both sides. But 7.6 medium heavy, a lot of backbone to get them over that. This one I had 15-pound Seaguar Red Label, and I was pulling them over that spillway. Red Label is just by far the strongest line on the planet. I have total confidence in it. Again, 8 1-to-1 gear ratio Concept A. So that was my system for the Upper Mississippi. Had a great time. Really hoping we go back in the next few years. But now we're trying to get the Bass Cat dried out here, and we're headed down to Louisiana for the next 2 opens. So I'll talk to you guys after those.